Hi folks, welcome to another edition of the Omnist Hour. Crank down the music a little bit that I have chosen to accompany it. Okay, well, welcome back. This might be a little shorter one, but seemed to be timely today based upon what I'm reading. Mostly, this is going to be kind of a political talk, because that's something that you can't really separate out from spirituality. This is going to be in large part directed at my own countrymen in the United States, but also at patriots of all nations, wherever they may be, whoever they may be, however they justify calling themselves patriots. So I'm going to call this one, When is a Patriot Not a Patriot? An all-father-side chat for cult nationalists. Let's delve into it. Okay, well, as usual, I'm going to start by asking you to think about, what is a patriot? What's the definition of that word? We use it a lot these days, don't we? I'll give you my take on it, and you can surely chime in if you have other ideas. But my take on what is a patriot is someone who loves their country enough to defend it. Now, that means that you're defending not only your country, but your form of government, the government that you live under. That doesn't mean you necessarily have to like it. Doesn't mean necessarily that you don't want to change things. But being patriotic means that you want to change things in the system that your country is. That's what a patriot is. Now, that may not be how many people define patriotism. So, let's segue from there and talk about what I mean by cult nationalism. I, again, define cult to be any belief that becomes religious in nature to the point of jihad, something you'll fight for, to defend. And I think you can see how patriotism could easily move into the realm of being a cult. This is where, this old saying, my country, right or wrong, came from. If that's the way you feel about your country, that's kind of reaching a cult level of patriotism. Similarly, if you are part of the government of a country and you don't respect its laws, you can hardly call yourself a patriot, can you? Somebody who doesn't want to work within the legal framework of the country to change its laws, to follow the laws that govern changes, is not a patriot. In fact, they are a revolutionary. And this is something that I think is not well understood anymore. A lot of people claiming to be patriots are, in fact, revolutionaries. People both within and outside government. Let me give you an example that I have a lot of personal experience with. There was a law passed after 9/11 called the Patriot Act. Now, if you were around in that time, you probably heard about that law and you thought, oh, this is a really good law because it's called the Patriot Act. But in fact, what that Patriot Act did was unconstitutional. It gave government institutions, not only national, but even state and local institutions, the power to incarcerate, to detain U.S. citizens for absolutely no reason at all. Not even the suspicion of a crime. How do I know this? I was a victim of the Patriot Act. I will tell you my own experience with the Patriot Act. After I lived in China the first time, I worked as an expat engineer, starting up a new R&D center in Shanghai. And when I came back with a Chinese wife. We came back to Boise, Idaho. And she didn't like it there. She couldn't find work that she liked. She couldn't find a lot of friends. There wasn't a large Chinese community there or whatever. She ended up taking a job as a flight attendant, which she thought was going to be pretty good because it was supposed to be on for an expansion of a new route to China. And she would have been making good money going back and forth to China. She was based in Newark, New Jersey, that airport. And took up that role. I was looking for work out there, couldn't find anything, and we were separated for most of 6 months before she realized that this dream wasn't going to happen. In fact, she was the day that she was supposed to fly her first flight to China, they realized that they hadn't processed her thing properly because although she was a U.S. citizen, or no, she wasn't a U.S. citizen yet, because she was a Chinese national, they had to go through an extra piece of paperwork that had to go through Beijing, and they couldn't let her fly until that was through. By the time the paperwork was through, she lost her seniority. Somebody else took the Peach new routes to Shanghai, and she got stuck flying on reserve, which if you know anything about reserve status as a flight attendant, you know it sucks donkey dicks. Okay, at any rate, we decided that, she was very unhappy. I was unhappy because I was separated from my wife and in a job I didn't particularly like after I came back from the assignment in China. So she begged me to go back to China and said, I know I can find better work there. I know I'll have better prospects there. And I figured, well, with my Chinese experience as a 4-year expat, starting up an organization in China, I should probably be able to find a pretty decent job too. So we decided to move back to China. I tried to get my company to move me back, but they weren't interested in that. They said, if you want to go work there, you're going to have to apply for a local job. I said, fine, okay, I'll find something when I get back there, because my wife is just desperate to get back to China. If you know anything about living overseas, you know that long about 9 months to the first year, you get really homesick. I've been there many times, and I know what that's like. Okay, long and short of it, we planned to move back to China. And I happened to mention to my first ex that we were going to be doing that, and I was going to be looking for work, and it might be a little bit difficult for me to send what were huge alimony payments. Okay, so fast forward to the day that we're supposed to leave. I get served papers saying that, in fact, I can't travel. I've been put on the no-fly list. I've been put on the no-fly list, having committed no crime, having never missed a payment of alimony, having only cautioned my ex that I might have financial difficulty until I found a job. Well, I didn't think that was fair. So I decided, well, you know what? I'm not going to play this silly game. This is absurd. My government can't do this to me. They can't take away my ability to travel because I haven't done anything. On the word of some ambulance-chasing lawyer from Colorado, I didn't believe that that could possibly happen. So I let my wife go as planned. And I thought, well, just to be on the safe side, I will change my flight instead of going through, I think it was supposed to go through Hong Kong. I changed my flight to like a separate flight. I flew to Seattle, took a bus across the border, and then flew from Vancouver to Tokyo and on to Shanghai. And I thought, well, okay, that takes care of that silliness. Well, a few months later, I had a job offer, and I realized that, I've got to go to Hong Kong, I've got to exit China and come back with a work visa, because that's the way that things have to happen there. You have to exit and come back on a different visa. And the visa I was on was a spouse visa. Okay, so I go to Hong Kong to get my work visa, get to the Hong Kong Chinese embassy, and discover I have no free space in my passport for the new visa, which is a full-page one instead of just a little stamp like many countries do that you can put a lot of them in a passport. Okay, crap, I've got to get more pages in my passport. I go to the U.S. Embassy in Hong Kong to get pages in my passport, stand in line, get up to the front of the line. They take my passport, and a few minutes later, somebody comes and says, could you come with us? I get escorted to one of the interrogation rooms, I guess you would call it, and told that you're on the Patriot, or you're on the no-fly list. We have to hold on to your passport and investigate. And in the meantime, you're stuck here. We'll decide what we're going to do with you, and we'll let you know. I was stuck in Hong Kong without a passport for about 3 weeks. I didn't know if I was ever going to rejoin my wife in China or when I'd be able to travel anywhere. I was stuck in Hong Kong without a lot of money, living in this flea-bitten hostel that I thought would save a few bucks. And I almost committed suicide during that time. I was so distraught about what my government had done to me. There was a moment waiting for subway in Hong Kong that I just thought about jumping in front of that train. And I don't know why I didn't. Because I was that disappointed in life, disappointed in my country. Well, long and the short of it, after 3 weeks, I get a call from the embassy, and they say, well, we've looked into your situation, and here's what we're going to do. If you go get a one-way ticket back to the U.S. and bring it in, show it to us, we'll give you your passport back so you can get back to the U.S. Normally, we would only issue you a travel visa and keep your passport, but just to save time and stuff, we'll do it this way. So, of course, what I did was got a one-way refundable ticket, went to the embassy, got my passport, and hightailed it on the next train to Shenzhen. And then went through a very painful year of legal battles trying to get off the no-fly list and get my ex off my back about alimony that she made me unable to pay. This is the Patriot Act. It is illegal. It is a violation of your constitutional rights as a U.S. citizen. And the folks that enacted the Patriot Act are not patriots. They are revolutionaries, even if they're in your own goddamn government. And those same bastards are at work right now trying to steal your freedoms. There are revolutionaries inside the U.S. government, and they need to be stopped. They are not patriots. They are servants of a globalist cabal of rich people who want to have control over everybody. They want to monitor all the borders. They want to make you get this health certificate, vaccine passport, and have it checked every time to make sure you're a good little child before they'll let you travel internationally. These are not patriots. These are enemies of your country. Enemies within our own goddamn government. And this applies to every other country that has these assholes forcing shit down your throats that are against your laws. Any country that has a dual standard where the Joe Bidens and Hillary Clintons can get away with some, murder, any kind of crime, insider trading, you name it, and everybody else has to play by the rules, or the FBI comes and jumps down their throat for just going near the Capitol on January 6th. Those are not patriots. The ones that are saying, well, I'm a Bernie Sanders revolutionary. I'm a progressive revolutionary. I'm a patriot. No, you're not. You are not patriotic in any sense of the word as long as you are advocating for change that is violent, that does not go within the laws, that is unconstitutional. If you are changing your country with riots, with arson, with doxing, with fake news, deep fakes, you are no patriot. You are anything but. And not only that, you are not only a traitor to your own country, you are a traitor to the Creator. Because you are committing a karmic sin. You're pretending, you're advertising yourself as something you are not. This is all under the umbrella of the cardinal karmic sin of tyranny. You are lying to other souls to confuse them, to manipulate them, to control them. And if you are one of these folks that is out violently advocating change, is out actively advocating for secession from the Union, and yes, there are many people calling themselves patriots who are doing just such things. You are not a patriot, you are a revolutionary. There are legal ways to change things. It doesn't happen quickly. But there are people working within the law to change the United States, and those are the patriots. Many of them voted for Donald Trump. Many of them voted for Biden, not realizing that they were lied to in the lead up to the election about Biden's crime activities. And they didn't do their research about his previous career in office, which has been a 47, well, now it's more like 50 years of criminal activities. Being the guy that's easy to buy in the Senate. That's why he stayed there so long, because he could get donations up the yin-yang from rich people who wanted to buy favors. And after he became vice president, boy, the money kept flowing in, didn't it? It's all true. He had, through his son and through the rest of his family, very dirty dealings with Ukraine, Russia, and China, to mention just a few. This is truth. These people are not patriots, they are traitors. And they deserve to be tried as traitors. If they aren't tried in this life, believe me, karma is going to put them on trial in the afterlife. Their life review is going to be pure hell for them, because they are going to see every person that they ever fucked with what they did in their career. Every bill they voted for that was unconstitutional, that condemned millions of Americans to suffering, millions of other people in other countries to suffering that they didn't need to suffer. This is a warning. You don't have long to mend your karma. And the only thing you can do at this point is confess. Become a whistleblower. Come clean before it's too late. Because I'm telling you, the apocalypse is here. And for the folks that are living on the dark side of karma, it's not going to be a pretty end. For those of you who are real patriots, who love your country, love your community, love your friends and neighbors, want to work peacefully to change things you don't like, take hope. You are, at some level, among the chosen. Now, I'm sure you've done things that you're not proud of. And you know what your karma is. It's not all political. A lot of it may be relationship related, and you got to deal with that. It may be multi-generational karma. It may be species karma. It may be something you did 1,000 lifetimes ago that still hasn't been mended. I'm not talking about that today. That's your problem. That's your cross to bear. But I do want you to be aware that this whole political issue that's going right now is a big one. And it ties into almost everything else that is going on in this species. Because we are a species that politicizes religion, politicizes belief. And to the extent that your beliefs are driven by politics and not by truth, that is dark karma. That is karmic sin. It is causing you to vote in the interest of lies, in the interest of politicized lies about religion, about countries, about history, about all the things that go into the games that politicians play to stay in power, or to gain power if they aren't in power. And, there are very few political leaders that have as clean a record, karmically, as somebody like Gandhi. And even Gandhi was not a perfect soul. He accomplished a lot and managed to steer clear of a lot of dark stuff by keeping his movement more or less free of violence. But there were many cases where his movement was deceptive. It was not working within the law. And India is paying for that now. The fact that India has not a very good government, not a very happy oligarchy that rules over them, that Pakistan is in no better shape. It's not part of a unified India, probably never will be. And God knows what's going to happen to the province in between. Kashmir. So this is not just a U.S. problem. It's all over the world. And it's being magnified because there are so many people looking to gain power. And if you're willing to pursue power and let the end justify the means, that is karmic sin. The end does not justify the means. It will get you karmically punished. And if you've listened to my other content, you'll know how that works. You're going to serve time in another universe or another species that's going to teach you the error of your ways. If you're a lover of authoritarian rule, totalitarian rule, you're probably going to end up in a totalitarian dystopia on the dark side of it where you have no power. And you're the one being oppressed. If you love the fake world of commercial media, you watch all the latest series and you believe everything you hear on a commercial, you perfect little consumer, perfect little bot in your corporate job, well, you're going to see what the end result of that is, of conforming to tyranny, of letting your mind be controlled and programmed. A soul that is susceptible to programming is a low consciousness soul. This is not an insult. This is just a simple truth. Low consciousness souls are part of what the beast prophecy was talking about. The mark of the beast is low consciousness, one aspect of it, and the other aspect of it is high consciousness misused. And those that are hyper intelligent, know more than others, have more opportunities than others, these are the kind of souls that are high consciousness ones. They've been given a lot of chips in the game, and they're wasting them by doing bad stuff. This is basically a process you go through as you go up levels in the game of souls. You get challenged with progressively more difficult temptations, different karmic challenges, because that's the only way that this system will know if you deserve to play in a universe of connection, if you play well with other souls, if you deserve to be part of the creative process that drives all of creation. You can create it whatever you want, but if it's dystopian, if it's dark, if it's manipulative, if it hurts other people, you're going to eventually be creating it in a universe all of your own. And this is how the system works. This is how the system that God thought up and implemented through karma and all of the rest of the children in progressive stages. Different versions, each version getting closer to a better solution. The first version of karma was the honor system. Do unto others as you would have them do unto you. Now, we all know that doesn't work very well, does it? That's not a basis for a good law, for humans at least. Not at our current level of consciousness, which is something that is changing, but it's changing in a way that could well have this species diverging. Some of humanity may continue in certain universes and become a beast species again, and be sent back to the Stone Age by some cataclysm, a nuclear war, or an asteroid hit. There's a lot of ways to reset the game in any given universe, and there are many parallel universes with many parallel Earths right now. Some of them are going to get reset, Some of them are going to have humanity exterminated, extincted. Others, humanity will continue in some way, shape, or form. I'm not going to tell you all of those, but I'm going to tell you that the faithful, those who do things in a godly way, respectful of karma, and have a lot of capability to lead, to create responsibly, to make beautiful things that inspire others to create responsibly, that's the ones that are going to get to stay in the prime universe, the universe of creation. The most perfect universe so far. And this is the essence of what little truth was left in the Bible after a long, long seventh day of creation, where a lot of folks lost faith in the first creator. He's never coming back. All of those ideas he had were nonsense. He's gone. He'll never regain his consciousness. That's what they were thinking. And a lot of them thought, well, we can't let that happen, so let's elect one of us to pretend to be him. And that's how all of the other fake gods, the false prophets, work. And there have been many, many of them. And some had very noble motives. Some even knew they were just kind of holding the torch till God came back, and had a lot of faith that God would come back. Others gradually lost faith and said, well, that didn't work. Let's try something else. You know, God was always on about this free will stuff and letting souls govern themselves within this weird set of laws that he talked about as karma, that we were supposed to design and implement by ourselves with our free will. That sounded so crazy weird. I think he must have been crazy. I think God was crazy, and that's why he went off and disappeared, and he's never coming back. Well, I'm here to tell you folks that he is back, knows exactly what happened, knows that his plan actually did succeed through this very flawed species called humanity, and we're ready to finish the seventh day of creation and get on to the eighth. And we're not going to be playing that same game anymore. The Gaia experiment is done. The purpose for which this solar system is complete. The primary mission of humanity is done. But God doesn't waste anything. God's team doesn't waste anything. Good creators don't throw out the babies with the bathwater. This is why I'm telling you that the revolutionary approach to government is stupid. If you want to tear everything down and build something you think is going to be better, you're going to get something worse. Violent revolutions bring sociopaths and megalomaniacs to front and center stage. This is how we got Hitler. This is how we got Stalin. This is how we got Mao. This is how we got Xi Jinping. The more reactionary revolutionaries. This is how we got Hillary Clinton and her cabal of destructive globalists within our government, within the governments of Europe, within the EU, within the UN. There are folks that are anything but patriotic, even about this world. They are patriotic about their own class. The elite, the beautiful people that get to go to Davos, that get to go to the exclusive parties at Burning Man, the fanciest parties in New York and elsewhere, the satanic gatherings where they kind of lock you into their cabal by having you participate in things you would be pretty embarrassed to have come out in public. These are evil people. They are not patriots. They are not God's patriots, though they may claim to be. And there's a bunch of them that actually think they're doing good by doing that, because they believe that by magnifying evil, by confusing everybody, they are going to generate enough spiritual energy to bring back God. Well, that may have been true up to a point, but now that, in fact, God has been reincarnated and has grown up and learned who he was, what he was, raised himself to the level of consciousness that is the highest level now under the current version of karma, it's done. They may not realize it. Just like when previous incarnations of the Messiah came, most people didn't realize. Sometimes they realized after they'd already killed him, and they thought, well, that was actually some pretty good stuff. Let's make a religion of control out of it and call it Christianity. Let's make a religion of control out of it and call it Buddhism. Let's make a religion of control out of it and call it Islam. These are not patriots. These are not the good children of God. Sorry. If those are your beliefs, you're on the wrong side of karma. And you better start rethinking your politics, your spiritual politics, your temporal politics. It's all tied to spirituality, because spirituality is thought. The soul is a creature of pure thought. Thoughts create reality. And the incarnation you are living, although it is a simulation, it's a very real simulation that has consequences. The consequences are karma. It's a very simple system. Ultimately, that happens to solve the problem of every kind of soul you could possibly imagine. That's why it took so long to develop and test. It's the biggest social engineering experiment ever conducted, that ever will be conducted. And it's still going. It's only in the finishing stages of the seventh day. What happens on day 8? Well, in the prime universe, what's going to happen is that the folks who value responsible freedom, that know the difference between freedom and tyranny, that know that no authoritarian, micromanaging Lord of the universe could possibly be God in any universe I'd want to live in, well, they're going to band together with all their differences, with all their things they don't agree on, and they're going to say, you know what? We got to end tyranny where we find it, where we can. If it's local, and I have a little bit of power locally, I'll work locally. If it's my state, I'll work at a state level. If it's my country, I'll work at a country level. If I have the ability to influence many countries, I'll work at that level, even at the risk of losing my corporate position, even at the risk of being censured by other tech corporations. Now, I'm not saying that Elon Musk is necessarily on the good guy side. The jury's still out there. He's got a lot of skin in the game. And one of the big players of the dark side is the Chinese Communist Party. And to my way of thinking, that's the first domino that needs to fall. And speaking to patriots outside of China, you need to work with the revolutionaries within China before the rest of the world becomes like Hong Kong. If you haven't seen what's been going on in Hong Kong in the last few years, you need to do some research on what happens when democracies, when relatively good government gets thrown under the bus for political or economic gain. And yes, there's some very dark karma in England right now for letting Hong Kong get thrown under the bus. They didn't need to give Hong Kong back to the Chinese Communist Party. They could have argued that, well, you know what, the deal was made with the legitimate government of China, and there's still two powers vying for the legitimate government. So we're going to hang on to Hong Kong until Taiwan and China figure out who is the winner of the Civil War, because it's still going on. Even though Taiwan is virtually a separate country now. You either end the Civil War and recognize Taiwan, or you don't get Hong Kong back. But no, they caved to the Chinese Communist Party, who promised 50 years of one country, two systems, and it didn't last 25 years. They immediately started undermining that system, putting their own officials in, suppressing free-minded voices, defenders of the government system that the British left behind. And now, as of last year, Hong Kong is no longer a two-system place. And if they get Taiwan, that's what's going to happen to Taiwan. It's not going to be a good thing. It's not going to make everybody happy. Anybody who thinks that you should be giving in to the Chinese Communist Party, that they, oh, if we just give them what they want, they'll be nice again. You're fucking stupid. You're as stupid as Justin Trudeau or Joe Biden or Hillary Clinton. You are a political ninny that may think you're God Almighty. You're dumb. And there's all sorts of proof of it. I mean, you look at how Hunter Biden's laptop was carelessly thrust into the arms of their enemies. How WikiLeaks got a hold of the DNC servers and all the information that came out about Hillary Clinton and the Pelosi's and oh God, what's that? Oh, horrible lobbyist that does so much work for China. Let's see, the name will come to me soon. All the folks on the Epstein Express. I'm sorry if you're hiding your head in the sand, pretending all that doesn't exist. Oh, that's just a fake news from my enemies, my political enemies. You're no patriot. You're not even intelligent enough to vote. Frankly, you don't deserve to vote if you're that stupid that you could be hoodwinked by such an obvious psyop. When there's so much truth out there just waiting for you to find it. Okay, well, I think that's enough for today. I'm sure this particular discussion will get me even more shadow banned than I already am, but I don't give a crap anymore. Like, share, subscribe. Tune in again to the Omnist Hour. It's almost the final hour, and we can get this farce over with. And to a large extent, it has become a farce. And if it bothers you, disconnect, but don't bother voting if you're disconnected. If you don't have time to do any research if you just vote straight ticket this, straight ticket that. If you watch the evening news that tells you who to vote for, and at the very last minute suddenly exposes information that's going to sway your vote or not sway your vote, immediately gets hidden and called Russian disinformation, you're not smart enough to vote. I'm sorry. You don't deserve it. So don't. Just sit it out. Be a couch potato. Let your fate come to you, because you deserve to be an animal. You deserve to be a beast. And it's not a bad thing to be a beast. You know, you may end up life after life out in a wonderful green field, chewing all the grass you can as some kind of sheepish or bovine herbivore. And that might just be blissful for you if they have good entertainment system there for whatever kind of animal you have and whatever kind of sensory apparatus that particular soul vehicle has. Might be just perfect for you. Don't get in others' way who have more concern for where they're going, more consciousness of the risk involved, more consciousness of the opportunities that are out there, more consciousness of karma. So for the Omnist Hour, I bid you adieu. Happy karma.